coming up towards 6:19 in Trinidad and Tobago as we have a look at the situation in Davie, coming out of Davie, going on the link road to head on to the highway via the camera of traffictt.com. And indeed, as we look into Davie proper, looks very quiet at this stage. But it was reasonably quiet as well with the local government election. As usual, the turnout within the region of 35%, which isn't too bad. And sometimes I wonder if the narrative that we have about, there's 65% waiting out there to be garnered. The facts show that even for a general election, it's never more than around 70%. So there's always that 30% who are really not interested in being part of the electoral process when it comes to the elections in Trinidad and Tobago. But just to confirm for you the numbers, and you can see it in the release which came from the EBC, the Elections and Boundaries Commission, the UNC with 202,000, the PNM 161,000, followed by the MSJ with 2,635, the PPM 1,314, COP with 972, and the MND 404, and the NTP 11. Not familiar with that organization, but we have with us the leader of the MSJ, David Abdulah. David, very good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. I suppose the obvious question, and I suppose the viewers might be asking, why we have somebody here whose party only get less than 1% of the vote. The issue is you have been at the very forefront championing the cause of the movement for social justice as an alternative to either the PNM or the UNC. Do these numbers suggest that you need to really rethink whether you should be continuing in this campaign?
Well, first of all, morning, President, morning to all your viewers and listeners. No, it doesn't. Well, the numbers, of course, tell a story. There's no doubt about that. And so, yes, we would have liked to have done better in terms of an actual vote count in some of the areas where we had perhaps contested before. We did improve our vote count even in those areas where we contested before. Most of the areas we contested, we had never fought before, and therefore we moved in a sense from zero to wherever we got, which is a positive move upwards. And more people were made aware of the MSJ, what we stand for. And let me just publicly thank all our candidates and their campaign teams for all of the hard work with very limited resources that they walk the ground and walk the talk. So in that sense, yes, there was growth for the party in the election campaign. As a result of the election campaign, we have new members, we have new activists and so on, and that is positive for us because we're really trying to build a movement to bring about change, and that's not an easy thing to do. In the context of electoral politics, that's an even more difficult thing to do.
But isn't everything stacked, whether it's yourself, whether it's the PEP, whether it's any other organization, as we have to say, even the COP now, because they have been relegated to the level of the strugglers also, and that might have different things attached to it as to whether or not they have any credibility left based on their association with the UNC and the People's Partnership. But with all the best will in the world, David Abdulah, if you don't have the financiers on board, if you don't have those resources to be in people's faces with ads and so on, you have no chance.
Yeah, money is clearly an issue. And as I've been saying, elections have become a commodity in many respects. It is not only the advertising on television, radio, newspapers. We ran not a single ad, partly because of no money, largely because of no money, but also partly because for local government elections, it really is not supposed to be about national ads. It really is supposed to be focused on people on the ground and their community issues and challenges and problems. But the other aspect of elections becoming a commodity is where people are being induced to vote in one way. And we were hearing that talk on the ground in a number of areas. People were being given money to vote. In some cases, maybe money not to vote. Promises were being made. People were being also threatened with loss of employment if they don't CPEP, URP, if they don't vote a particular way and they don't support the party. So there are all of those factors playing out. I mean, when I was walking, people would say, well, boss, what do you have to give me? Of course, we have nothing to give you in that sense except hope and bring about change.
But doesn't that tell you people not interested in that? Their idea of, you might have a different idea what change is, their idea of change is change in the pocket.
Right, which of course is small change because it lasts just for a short while. And some of our candidates were saying that. I mean, in San Fernando on Monday night, some of the candidates were saying that people sometimes just have this very short-term, immediate view of life till Christmas. So you get something for Christmas and then, whatever happens afterwards, you try and deal with it. So yes, elections become a commodity, and that's a real challenge, not just for the MSJ, but I want to suggest it's a challenge for the democracy of the society, because a few people with big money can actually control power, government, party, and so on. And that therefore makes a mockery of one person, one vote, and the will of the majority, when really it really is the will of the minority in very many respects.
But isn't that the same in many other jurisdictions? You can reference the UK
Yes.
with their well-established democracy. You could reference the United States as well, basically a two-party system, and so on. So that just seems to be, whether you want to use the word the natural way or the inevitable way, that just seems to be the way it is. And small parties like the MSJ and others will never have a chance.
Yeah, and well, there's some other things that could go in our favor in a different way, which I'll come to in a while. But for example, yesterday, I think one of the Democratic presidential hopefuls, Kamala Harris,
she pulled out.
She pulled out, and the reason she gave is that she ran out of money.
Yeah.
So even within a party, given the American system of primaries and so on, money becomes a hugely important factor. We attempted to tackle that by a grassroots funding campaign process where we're asking people to donate from $10 up, using a kind of a system looking like a raffle book. Now, that didn't work for us because it was difficult to do that in the teeth of an election campaign. But we're going to continue that process because we do think that if we get that grassroots funding approach done, then we can raise enough resources, not the 40 million, however many million the PNM spent. And it'd be interesting to know how much actually they spent. I mean, they should disclose.
Well, we'll never know that.
Because there's no law.
Because there's no law, there's no
Precisely.
requirement. And both major parties wanted to stay that way.
Exactly, because I suppose sparrows, we like it so.
Yes, precisely. It's very apropos. Very apropos.
Yes. So, and particularly when they're in government, they don't want to change it, because when in government, they get more money. Because, of course, contracts are given out and so on. And there's an expectation that when you give out a big contract, the contractor will put money back in your pocket or to the party's finance campaign efforts. So money is an issue. There's no doubt about it. But on the other hand, nothing has changed between Sunday and today. And people are going to come to that realization increasingly. Nothing has changed. So what do we meet 2 days after the election? A crisis in the fuel distribution system. I was reading one of the comments, Vox Pop comments in the newspaper this morning when I was waiting, and one person said, well, she hopes food prices will go down, or she expects food prices will go down. Food prices not going to go down. The roads are still going to be bad. The garbage is still not going to be collected in so many parts of the country that I saw, and so on. Regardless of who won the corporation and who didn't win, the situation, quite frankly, is not going.
David Abdulah, and it remains as relevant today, probably more so than it did in 1981, because the evidence is there of the decay, the evidence is there of the infrastructural and the institutional collapse. Yet, as I said, I had a discussion with someone on the show last week, and I was making the point that I've never voted, I don't vote PNM, and I don't vote UNC. So he said, from his point of view, I'm not voting, because as he saw it, as many people see it, there are only two options. So, as I said, and even these same people will complain about the poor service, the lack of proper infrastructure, the way government institutions don't work, but yet, despite all of that and all of that evidence, they will vote for either the red or the yellow.
Yeah, and that's the cultural issue that is difficult to break. Lloyd Best quipped once, how does a culture escape from itself? And that culture is deep, it's entrenched, it is, I saw Reggie Dumas's comments about it. It is about race, partly, it's about religion, it's about geography, which are historical factors in the electoral politics going back to the 40s and 50s, which have become entrenched. But that only really determines the vote of a minority of people in the country. Um, Money now is a third factor in the politics. But so the issue is, how do we break that culture? It is very difficult to break it in a normal election situation with a party simply entering an election like we did and challenging that status quo. It's very difficult to do that because the entrenched cultures, you're up against it. And therefore, what is required in my own view and so on is a process of a mass movement, because we have only had fundamental change in this country, be it 1919, 1920, which led to the first elections on a limited franchise in 25, or 1937 that led to full franchise in 46, later on independence 1970, which led to a lot of social changes and so on, economic changes. It is only that kind of mass movement that comes up that can challenge the status quo and break people free of what we could say, what Bob Marley sang about, the chains that we have to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, of believing that there could only be two parties. God didn't make it so. We have made it so as a people, and that can in fact be changed, but it can be changed under the normal run-of-the-mill circumstances.
So how do you? Because are you suggesting that we should subvert the democratic process?
No, I'm not talking about subverting it. It really has to do with a lot with education. I was talking to a couple of my candidates. Well, I've spoken to nearly all of them between Monday night and last night. And they said, well, we just have to do more work. We have to do more work in educating. We have to do more work in mobilizing, organizing, and so on, so that people could get to the point of seeing change. I was speaking to one young person just a short while ago, and she said she didn't vote, but she wants change. But she didn't realize perhaps that there was an MSJ candidate in her area. So there was a gap. There's a gap clearly in our message, in our ability to motivate people to come out and actually vote for us, even though in many of the areas where we contested, people heard the message and they didn't vote. Particularly in PNM strong areas, they didn't vote. So there is a lot more work that we have to do. And that's the task that all our candidates said to me, David, political leader, we're going again from tomorrow morning, we're ready for it.
I asked you this question prior to the local government election in relation to the entire Petrotrin matter and the fact that the OWTU does select as the preferred bidder.
Yes.
And I asked you the question then, has it chopped the legs off the MSJ as far as building any sort of support from the labor movement? Doesn't this situation, I don't know what your actual expectations were, but don't these numbers suggest that whoever you were reaching out to, whether from the labor, those who are inclined, whether OWTU members or from the labor movement generally, or inclined to think on a labor type lines, that this initiative by the government basically is an excellent political strategy more than anything else?
Well, yeah, I haven't looked at the actual hard numbers from Point 14. I got some feedback from some of the candidates. We did, in fact, get an increase in votes in all, I think, but one of the electoral districts where our candidate had to enter the campaign very, very late, the day before nomination. But in the other areas, I understand, we did increase our vote count. And Point 14 is largely an oil town. The fact that we didn't go beyond that, in Wesley, Brighton, we understand like we increased our vote count there from 2013. We didn't contest in 2016. In Erin, we increased our vote count. We didn't contest that in 2013 either. So there was some movement, but it could have been and perhaps should have been more, given the impact of the closure of Petrotrin.
But David Abdulah, if I could come in again, the representatives and the fans of the major parties will be laughing at you when they say, well, you increase your vote count from 65 to 92, because there's a joke. They say, well, it increased probably 30% or 40%, but it's because it's so low already, and you might have increased it by significantly in percentage terms, but in real terms it remains negligible.
Well, yes, in terms of winning a seat. And interestingly, I think the PNM's vote count went down in some of those areas. I don't have the actual figures. So I do think the Petrotrin closure impacted the PNM in those areas, so their vote count went down. Some people may have additionally voted for the UN seats. I think their vote count actually some shift because of the closure of Petrotrin away from the PNM. Some the UNC got some, we got some, but it did not change the outcome of those oil belt areas like Point Fortin and the Labre, but parts of the Siparia Regional Corporation, which is like Erin, Paliseco, Destiny, Brighton, and so on. It didn't change there. So in that sense, Marbella, for example, west and east, it didn't significantly change there either. Though the PNM lost in Marbella east, I believe.
Yes.
So there was some impact there. The UNC actually won that seat. So there was some shifting because of the closure of Petrotrin, but it did not come to the MSJ directly as a result of that.
6:35 in Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to continue our dialogue with the leader of the Movement for Social Justice, David Abdulah. We're supposed to be joined by a UNC councillor-elect later on in the course of the morning. And again, just a reminder, we did reach out to the People's National Movement for someone, a representative, to join us. We didn't get any answer for today, but we understand that someone is coming tomorrow. So as soon as they call them out, they turn up. So that's how it goes in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. So we understand that there will be a representative joining us tomorrow to discuss the local government and politics in general. But we'll continue our dialogue with David Abdulah when we come back. the numbers are there to see. You have made some gains, but negligible gains in the context of having an impact on either winning seats or having an impact on the local government elections on Monday. We have the numbers up on the screen as well for the benefit of our viewers. What happens next as far as moving forward with the process?
Yeah, so we are just going to continue to build files. I've touched base with all my candidates, to get how they felt personally, because they invested a lot of time and energy walking and talking to people. So I was calling them and saying, well, how do you feel, and so on. And without any exception, all of them said, we were happy we did this, we did what we had to do, and we are prepared to continue the process. Because I see, and I was saying that on the campaign trail at a number of our meetings, that what we are doing really is building a movement. And so it is not simply about the outcome of the elections, it is really about trying to bring about fundamental change.
I hear you on that, but can it be sustained?
Well, I think it can be sustained. How much we could sustain it via electoral politics going into general elections, we're going to have to sit down and analyze, given resources and so on. We're going to have to analyze that. And it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, because some people say, well, if you show good results, then we'll put in some money, but you need some money to get some good results. So there's that chicken and egg. But the mood out there hasn't changed. The mood of the country, how people feel about the state of the country, as you often say in your early, your first discussions on the program, the mood of the country, mood of the people hasn't changed. I was talking to some business people too, well-placed business people, and they're upset and unhappy. But it always comes back to, boy, I don't know how we could change this thing, And so a few of us, as difficult as the burden may seem, just have to carry the weight of trying to educate, inform, and demonstrate that change can happen. Will it happen? All we can do is commit to working to bring about the change. Because if a few good people don't try to bring about change, then what we're essentially saying is that we are allowing the society to go wherever it goes and be controlled by the evil, or the lesser of two evils. And I don't know if in the Quran, so it's not in the Bible, there's any reference to a lesser or greater evil. Evil is evil.
Evil is evil. And the thing is, though, I mean, are you it's like a Don Quixote kind of thing? I mean, are you just tilting at windmills? And it's a noble effort. It's something that clearly suggests that the MSJ has some desire to do something different and be more represented, because by its name, Movement for Social Justice and so on. But doesn't the reality eventually result in a deflation of enthusiasm? If you keep trying, but the public isn't responding in the numbers that would give you hope. Doesn't that suggest that Trinidad and Tobago is doomed to be a two-party state forevermore?
Well, if we are doomed to the two parties that we now have, then we are doomed to becoming a failed state.
Isn't that an exaggeration? Because we always hear this failed state.
And I'll tell you why.
Because there are some of the other islands would love to be in our failed state situation.
Yes, and I'll tell you why failed state. Failed state in terms of that the institutions, and you made reference to it earlier, the institutions of state in this country are failing and have failed. When we talk about it all the time, the criminal justice system, the parliament, the way in which our executive or the cabinet
But it works for the people who have money. And the people who have money drive things, as not just in Trinidad and Tobago alone, but in most other countries. So if the ordinary people are suffering, if the Venezuelans are being exploited, if the West Africans are being treated like slaves in Trinidad and Tobago by evil business people, that doesn't register in the national consciousness.
Well, I'll tell you what can happen ultimately in that. What can happen ultimately is that we will get the kind of upheaval in this country, because people ultimately get pushed to a tipping point, where they could take no more. Now, how that explosion takes place could really become very nasty and violent, given the inherent violence in our society and the capacity of some people to be violent in terms of having arms.
Are you being irresponsible here and trying to hinting towards some sort of violent upheaval?
No, I'm not. I'm simply saying there's a natural logic to processes, economic, social processes. I've been reading about inequality, and even Barack Obama, I think, was quoted recently as saying that inequality is the greatest threat to the continuation of
human civilization. I mean, it's easy for him to say that. Did he do anything in his 8 years to try and change that?
Not overturned the Wall Street powers after bailing them out.
Precisely.
And all of them went to jail.
So I mean, Obama might be hailed as this because we see him as one of us because he ain't white. But it's easy to say it, David Abdulah, but he didn't do anything.
Correct. But I'm just quoting him because by quoting him, I'm not then saying it myself. And people say that, okay, that's David Abdulah saying that.
Right.
So some, and he has a axe to grind. He's coming from an ideological position.
I hear you, but the evidence is there. I mean, we talked about it before.
Chile.
What is happening in Chile? What is happening in many other countries?
There's a strike today, even in the face of dialogue that has started with the government. The unions and the social movements have said the strike that was organized today is going to continue. So yes, inequality is bursting out all over the place. So I'm just saying that is the logical progression when the elites in the society believe that they could continue to operate the society to their benefit and to the exclusion of the majority. Ultimately, people who are feeling it, who are in the kitchen and feeling the pressure, will not accept the kind of electoral inducements that ultimately will not prevent people from saying, hey, enough is enough.
But doesn't the evidence in Trinidad and Tobago suggest otherwise? That whether we are in a unique situation to that extent, or whether it's a situation of our Caribbean experience based on the power and the strength of the colonial experience, that we grumble, we complain, we talk about how bad the roads are, how terrible the services are, how useless this representative is, but because for whatever reason, whether it's a psychological lock that these power brokers have on us, that people grumble and complain and still either don't vote because they're apathetic, or vote for PNM, or in this case UNC as well, and afterwards they will complain, before they will complain, but still vote the way they've always voted.
Yeah, and I remember Selwyn Ryan, I think Professor Ryan, many years ago wrote something about Trinidad and Tobago being a nation of sheep, right? I might be paraphrasing him very badly, so my apologies to Selwyn for that, suggesting precisely what you're suggesting. But our history has really been a different history. So there have been major movements of people coming up seeking to bring about change. And I don't think that is going to stop. It will happen again. How it happens and how it is manifest more recently has been through electoral politics. The NAR in '86 was one such effort. The partnership in one sense in 2010 was another such effort. So people have been seeking to bring about change through electoral politics in different ways and means, and then ended up in a dead-end street when that change did not materialize. So we've been changing governments regularly. We've been voting them out because we think that the solution is voting them out. But voting them out and then bringing in people who are not prepared to do something fundamentally different. So I heard Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar say, for example, that if they're back in government in 2020, they will now bring about local government reform. But they will,
well, that is hollow, because the evidence suggests otherwise.
And because they were there and they didn't do it. So, all these things which they then promise when they're in opposition, but when they're in government, they never did. People are seeing through those things. And therefore, I think that ultimately people are going to say that this process of merry-go-round and exchange and flipping the coin from one heads up one day, tails up the next day, is not changing people's lives. And so we have hope. I have hope. I'm an optimist. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I've been doing since I've been 18. And I will continue to do it in one form or fashion. And those persons in the MSJ who are with me have all said, all the candidates have said, we're going again, which means not simply going again in terms of electoral politics, but we're going back into the communities, helping people with their problems, educating, organizing people, strengthening a movement. And ultimately, that process, I think, will succeed. Whether it is next year or 2 years from now, I can't say, because a lot could happen between now and 2020 elections that could change the whole face of this country.
Indeed. David Abdulah, thanks very much for taking the time to join us this morning, the leader of the Movement for Social Justice, as we continue our dialogue in the aftermath of the local government